are these guys? It's my theme music. Every good hero. Got to have some.
All right, everyone, this is Tim of the Online Big Blue, bringing you the best in New York Giants sports talk and entertainment. It's the Friday before the game, before the Las Vegas Raiders game. I almost said Oakland again. Want to talk about a couple things. Want to talk about Michael Strahan. Want to talk about Kadarius Toney. Want to talk about the salary cap purgatory that potentially could be wrecking the Giants in 2022. Something we've talked about that. We're going to do math today, boys and girls. I've got my piece of paper. I got my pencil. And I have my statistical spreadsheet that I put together. Everyone knows that majority of the time my capology information is correct. So we're going to break this down and see exactly where the Giants fall into the salary cap in 2022. First thing, though, I want to talk about is Kadarius Toney and his tweet, or ill-advised tweet about Henry Rugg. I'm not going to get into the tweet. I'm not going to get into what he said. I'm going to get into more of what Joe Judge's response was. Joe Judge, of course, had the fun opportunity to speak to Kadarius after September 20th game, and he kind of told him, whatever you put out there, make sure you don't have to explain or clarify or defend. Well, Toney evidently didn't learn that lesson, because after what he posted about Henry Ruggs, again, I'm not going to get into the post, it's just one of those things that he just does not seem to get it. He just doesn't get it. And what concerns me is what Joe Judge said again. Joe Judge basically came out and said that, that Toney's heart was in the right place, and he's a very intelligent person who's coachable. Really? Because nobody brought that up. At no point in time did anyone in the media question his intelligence or his coachability. And then he goes into, but there has been a lot that he has to be coached. Okay. I never questioned his coachability. I never questioned his intelligence. I'm not saying anything, but that's a little psychological slip, potentially. We all know Toney had an issue getting onto the field because the rumor was, and that I had reported on, that he was having difficulties understanding the simplicity of the playbook and that he had an attitude. But for your coach to come out and basically say he's very intelligent and coachable when nobody asked for that opinion, that kind of throws up a red flag with me. I want to talk about old Michael Strahan, too. Michael Strahan came out and basically said I guess it was on a podcast. No, it was with Kevin Hart, Laugh Out Loud Network. Kevin Hart basically asked him, are you still a Giant fan? Strahan said, yeah, I'm a Giant fan. And he goes, and Hart asked him, how do you feel about the season? He goes, we suck, Kev. We suck. Right now, we suck. What can I say? It's heartbreaking. Every Sunday, I got to sit there in the studio and have hella guys give me a hard time. I got to sit there and have my heart ripped out because we always find a way to lose games. All right, Michael Strahan. Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate your honesty, because you know what? Finally, we seem to be getting some honesty in the Giant community. For the last, I would say, 18, 19 months, there hasn't been a lot of honesty besides this channel and a few other channels. Mr. Bad Dog. But there hasn't been a lot of honesty. Now there is some honesty going on in the Giant community. I want to briefly touch on the salary cap for 2022, because I've been complaining about the salary cap since, before agency, free agency, after free agency, during free agency. And I want to kind of just break down what the Giants may be projected to going to. I don't like to use these websites. I think everyone knows that. I do my own statistical data. And I find it interesting because most of the time my data is more correct and accurate. Right now, there is a projected salary cap of $208 million. I'm right, 208. I'm also going to look at my spring. So that's $208 million right now. Now, if you add on the potential rollover money for the Giants, which is probably going to be $1.1 million, hopefully, you're looking at like $209.1 for the Giants right now. Giants have 43 players under contract in 2022. 43. You need 53. Just throwing it out there. But if you break down their projected, we'll say, if you break down their projection in reference to I mean, you can't even, it's a scary thing. We can't even extrapolate out into 52 or 53. So we're going to have to go with the 43. And some of these 43 contracts we'll be able to get rid of these contracts because they're low end $800,000 contracts, which are not going to probably be on the books at any point in time. Like Ryson's John's contract's probably not, that's $707,000. That's probably not going to be there. So you're going to have some guys it's going to be low end guys, but the low end fruit is going to fall off. Is going to fall off the contract. The good news is we don't have a lot of dead space right now. And that's good because we didn't make any stupid trades. But if you take a look at the contract value, and like I said, we potentially can have a projection of 209.1 with 43 contracts. Now, I was adding up all the contracts, all the workout bonuses, all the sign-on bonuses without removing people like Nate Solder. And if you go through the projected bonuses and salaries, I come up with $220 million. I'm rounding. I come up with $220 million in contracts, which if you leave an estimated dead cap space number with only 43 contracts of $11,260,000. I'm doing the math right now. So you're looking at a negative, with 43 guys under contract, you're looking at a negative cap space of $11,260,000. Now, if you look at where the contract values are placed, now we're not going to get into the post June 1st, and everything, and pre June 1st cuts. We're not going to get into that because we're too far out from that. But if you look at our dead cap space numbers, Leonard Williams accounts for almost 13% of our cap, with a dead cap number of $34 million. If we release him, the cap hit's going to be $26.5 million. That's a steep number. Kenny Galladay. Smooth sounds like Kenny G, has a dead cap number of $23 million and a cap total number of 21. Just above him, James Bradbury, who would only have a dead space cap number of almost $10 million, depending on when he's released, which is going to still be, and he still has a contract value, our cap number of $21.8 million, which is 10.4% of the contract. If you look at this, 34% of our entire cap space is three players: Leonard Williams, James Bradbury, and the smooth sounds of Kenny G. Now we're going to move on from Nate Solder. He has a projected cap number of $18 million. So you have to figure, even with the post-June cut first, he's going to have a dead cap number of $4 million right off the bat. So you are going to actually have, so if you subtract that and you move that over, you take away his cap number, you're looking at $14 million in extra cap space. So that's going to put us like $2 million. That's going to put us $2 million above the cap, getting rid of Nate. But then then this is where you run into the problems. Then you go into a Dory Jackson, who's guaranteed 15.5 with a dead cap number of 18.5. You got Blake Martinez, who is basically a cap hit of 14 and with a dead cap number of 5.5, but we also moved some of that contract money, so that's not total projection yet. Sterling Shepard is a $12 million cap hit, but it's a dead cap number of almost $8 million. So you only save $4 million by dumping Sterling Shepard. Logan Ryan's an anchor of a contract. You have $12 million in dead cap, his cap hit, but his dead cap number is $11.4 million. So so we're not really saving a lot of money here. So if you want to go down and start saving money, you figure the fact that $7 million of cap space is right now for tight end to Kyle Rudolph, but you're going to save $2 million if you dump him. So you're going to save almost $5 million if you dump him. So that puts us in around about $6.5 million in cap space, in available cap space if you dump him. You're not going to get rid of Saquon Barkley because he's got a $7 million cap number and a $7 million dead cap number. You're not going to get rid of Kadarius Toney, of course, because even though he's carrying a dead cap number of $11 million, he's only got a cap hit number of $3 million. So even if you think you're going to dump some of these guys, if you dump some of these smaller ancillary contracts, like if you move on from O'Shane Zimenez, you move on from Sam Beal, that's $1.6 million off the books between those guys. If you're going to move on, let's see, who else can you move on from? There's Derek Dillon's going to save you $700,000. You got some ancillary guys like Colin Johnson and Brightwell, which will save you 1.6. So let's add that. Let's put that 1.6 number there. We'll put that number there. And then you got some smaller contracts that if you break it down will probably save you about another, I would say, $2 million. So that's 8.5. That's 8.5. Let's see here. 11, 10. That's 10. And then you got 1.6, let's say, that's 7. So even moving some things around with, now you're going to be under 43 players in contracts because you're going to be around like 38 players in contracts. You have $11 million in cap space off a projected cap number of 209.1, which we rolled over the cap number from, we actually rolled over some of that money. We were counting on some rollover money. So let's figure you have 36 players out of your 53. And they're going to do the math right here. That's 7. So which means you are 17 players under the cap. 17 players under the necessary amount on your roster with about $11.5 million in cap space, even after you dump Nate Solder. I know that makes my head hurt. And don't forget, we also still have potentially right now, we're set to have the top 5 pick and the number 11 pick. So you also have to figure in your rookie pool as well. Your rookie pool. But like I said, we have active contracts of over $220 million just on 43 players. Now, we're not even getting to the rule of 51 because we can't even get to the rule of 51 because, like I said, even if we get rid of some of these guys, we're 17 players away from 53, which means we would still be 15 players away from the rule of 51. Where are you going to find this money? Where are we going to dump this money out of? Everyone always wants to talk about renegotiating the contracts. We're going to renegotiate the contracts. We're going to move the money around. We can't keep moving their money around. It's not logistically possible. And I think that's the biggest issue. The good news is at the moment, even if you keep the cap number at 209 going into 2023, the Giants will have almost $87 million in cap space because we'll only have a total cap number about of $128 million. But at that point in time, you also have Leonard Williams taking up almost 12% of your contract. You got a Kenny taking up 10%. You got a Dory Jackson taking up another 8%. So you're probably going to dump there is a total rebuild coming in 2022 and moving into 2023. There's a total rebuild coming. No matter what the season finishes out, and I've been saying this, there is a total rebuild coming for the Giants if you just look statistically at the cap numbers. And you know I love my math. We're going to have a big show, not a big show. We're going to have a show on Saturday breaking down the game. We're also going to have a stream, of course, at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday. We got a special guest dropping by. Talk about the state of the affair of the Giants. We're going to have some fun with that. And like I said, we're gonna break down, do a nice breakdown, an awesome breakdown of the Giants Oakland game. I keep saying freaking Oakland. The Giants Las Vegas Raiders game. And again, this is Tim with Online Big Blue, bringing you the best in New York Giants sports talk and entertainment. And as always, that's my theme music. Every good hero should have some. Thanks for listening.